Hello, beautiful. Before we begin, I would love to say this gently. This episode touches on grief, loss, and end of life experiences. Nothing graphic, nothing sensational, just real, and how these skills helped me through that season once I was able to reach for them. So if you're listening while driving or folding laundry, that's okay. And if at any point you feel a need to pause, please honor that. Please always honor yourself. So, as we get started, I would love to invite us to take a breath together. In the last episode, I shared that 2025 felt like a year that stripped me more than it shined me. Not because I failed, although my fear brain tried to tell me that a good portion of the year, but because life started lifing all at once. And despite all my efforts, I just couldn't seem to catch my breath. And today I'd love to open the door just a little bit wider and share the first of those moments in 2025, which was losing my mother in law at the very beginning of the year. And what that loss taught me about control and vulnerability, and a reminder of the quiet cost of trying to be strong for everyone else. So at the end of last January, my mother-in-law passed away after a long journey with dementia. She was an amazing woman. And if you've ever watched someone fade before their body decides to let go, you know that there's a kind of grief that begins long before that final goodbye. You know it's coming, but you try not to admit it to yourself for as long as possible because the pain just feels too big, too overwhelming. And by the time we reached the last days, her body was weak. There were no interventions, only comfort, and there were 10 days of waiting, 10 days of witnessing. And in those moments, something familiar, all too familiar, rose up in me before I even realized it. It was the part that says, hold it all together, be strong, stay busy, protect everyone that you love as much as possible at all costs, and don't make this harder for anyone else, no matter what you're feeling. And I went into what I know very well in my life, so familiar, which was caretaking mode, organizer mode, workaholic mode, emotional manager mode, take care of everyone else except myself. And I told myself I was being loving. And in many ways, I truly still believe I was. Yet I was also hiding. And I can see that clearly now. I was hiding from my own pain by avoiding my paper and putting all of my energy on everyone else, trying to control their moods and comfort their emotions. Does this sound familiar? Does anyone that's listening relate to this? I'd love to hear if so, because it is a familiar pattern for me. And I didn't share my own pain throughout this process because I was afraid. I was afraid, terrified that if I fell apart, if I really allowed my own heart to break, it would make something worse for my husband, for my boys, for everyone involved. So I did what I know how to do well. I stayed composed, I stayed strong, I stayed capable, I stayed contained, controlled on the outside, that is, while inside I was silently breaking apart and no one could even see it. And there's something else I would love to say here because for me it really matters. I knew what I should be doing. I teach these skills. I talk every day about relinquishing control. I talk about vulnerability. I talk about honoring your own heart above all else. And still, under pressure, under grief, I went right back into my old familiar pattern. My frenemy, control, showed up big and strong once again, and I gave into it. And I pulled up my big girl pants. I powered through. I told myself I can handle this. And if you're someone who pays attention to your own energy, you might be able to relate. I I could sense that my energy body was outside of myself and squarely on everyone and everything around me, which left no room, no space, no energy left to pour into me, to my own self care, to even acknowledge or recognize my own needs. And that's the thing that I've found about grief and trauma. They just don't seem to ask what we know, they don't ask what we teach. They even, in some ways, for me, invite me to not feel them, to avoid them. They don't even ask how I would help someone else through the very same thing. They instead pull from what's familiar, even if that takes me squarely off my own paper where my own power and my own healing ability lies. And for me, what was familiar was control, and it was disguised as being the responsible one, being the caretaker, holding everyone together, managing everyone else's emotions, being the strong one, caretaking of everyone else except for me. And I told myself what was also familiar, that I was being loving, even selfless. I was being a good wife, a good mom, a good person. But what I was actually doing in real time, I can see clearly now, was I was losing myself. And here's the hard truth that I had to face. That pattern that I was in, that old familiar pattern, it didn't help anyone around me. It especially didn't help me. And just like in the bad old days, it created more disconnection, not less, when what I really wanted was to feel seen and heard and connected and held and loved. The very people that I wanted and needed closer to me more than ever, who also, by the way, wanted that from me as well, they needed the real me, not the controlled version. And that was so far away at the time. Not because I didn't care, but because I wasn't letting myself be fully seen. I was present, but I wasn't open. I was capable, but I wasn't connected to myself or anyone else, even though that was desperately what I was trying to do. And that kind of strength, for me, it feels so lonely. For everyone in my experience, it feels that way because you can't truly reach others if they're hurting, even if they ask, if I don't allow myself to be vulnerable. I can't reach if I'm not reachable. What I didn't realize at the time was this: everyone else was doing the exact same thing that I was doing in some version or another. As I energetically thought I was standing guard on everyone else's paper and feelings and emotions and moods, I told myself we were all doing okay. We were making it through. And what was really happening that I see clearly now, my husband, he was just trying to be strong. He was holding it together as the amazing man that he is and head of our family for everyone else. My sons were trying to be brave because this was new for them to lose someone so close. It was tender, and they were quietly watching us and mirroring exactly what we were doing. We were all trying to protect one another, and we were all completely alone and hurting. And eventually it broke. I couldn't hold it together anymore. I just fell apart. The pressure became too much. And I cried and I got angry and I threw a spatula across the kitchen and the damn it finally broke. And that dam breaking, that was my breakthrough in this experience. That's exactly what it took. Because after that, I finally admitted how much I was hurting, how scared I was that I didn't know how to help everyone else, much less myself. How desperately I wanted to be able to take everyone's pain away, but I couldn't even help myself. So I did the opposite of trying to help everyone else. I asked for help. I turned to vulnerability. And in doing that, I allowed myself to be fully seen. And something beautiful and unexpected happened after that. When I finally gave myself permission to honor that grief, it also gave my husband permission to honor his. When I let myself be witnessed in my softness, my boys softened too. They didn't need me to be unbreakable. They needed me to be real. And that's what I needed too. That moment where I finally broke when I was trying to hold it all together, it didn't weaken our family. It connected us even more. And that's when I remembered something fundamental about feminine strength. Pure vulnerability doesn't burden those who love us, those around us, when we're not asking them to just hold it, we're just asking them to witness it. It actually, for me, invites them closer. It's beautiful, it's real, it's authentic. It's how we were beautifully created as women at our very core to have the capacity to love hard, to hurt deeply, to love immeasurably, and to be even more powerful when we can stand in our softness. And this is where the skills held me once again, as they always do, not in perfection, but in permission. Permission that I gave myself to finally let go of the control. The skill of relinquishing control, it helped me when control was really fear disguised in responsibility and caretaking clothes. The skill of receiving helped me to accept the love and the support that I desperately wanted and needed instead of trying so hard to manage my emotions alone and everyone else's around me. The skill of vulnerability allowed me to show up with emotional honesty and authenticity, not in drama, not in overwhelm, not in emotional dumping, just in truth, just in reality, and being me. And I didn't need to fall apart every day constantly. I just needed to give myself permission to stop disappearing. Those 10 days and the months since have continued to teach me something that I didn't expect. There is a sacred slowness at the end of life, a stripping down, a quiet clarity about what really matters: love, presence, touch, authenticity, permission to be real. And I realized how often for me, I can deny myself those very same things while I'm still here, very much alive, especially if I'm spending a lot of time off my paper. So if you've ever held it together so well that no one even knew that you were hurting for any reason at all, if you've ever protected everyone else around you at the cost of your own expression of pain, then I would love to invite you to hear this. You don't have to disappear to be loving. You don't have to be strong to be amazingly powerful. And you don't have to absorb the pain alone. You're not a burden. For me, allowing myself to be seen might just be the most generous thing I can do for those that love me and for myself. It just might be the very thing, as it was for me, that also inspires those that you love around you to also be brave enough to be fully witnessed. So if this resonates, I would love to hear from you. You might share a time you tried to be strong for everyone else and what you learned from it, or what grief taught you. And for me, grief comes in many forms: losing a dream, losing a relationship, losing a loved one, losing a job. There are so many ways that it shows up in this thing we call life. And they're all equally real and important and valid and deserve their time to be honored. Or you might simply share the words, I'm learning to let myself be seen in 2026. Or if that feels like a tear, maybe it's just, I want to allow myself to be fully seen in 2026. There is no right way to grieve in my experience, only honest ways that honor me and those around me. And in the next episode, I'll share what happened just a few months later when my own mom got sick. The fear, the urgency, the panic of realizing that I couldn't do this alone on my own anymore. I couldn't figure out how to fix it this time. And how old trauma surfaced in ways that I didn't expect in that experience, and how the skills once again came in and supported me through every bit of it. For me, grief doesn't ask permission, but it does teach me, if I allow it, to live more honestly, more connected, and more tenderly. So thank you for being here with me. We are walking this journey with these skills together. And in case you haven't heard it lately, then I would love to invite you to listen to my message from my heart sincerely to yours. You are strong. You are beautiful. You are capable of amazing transformation. You are so special, and you are enough just as you are. So until our next episode, I would also invite you to please be really kind and gentle with yourself and gift yourself an extra bit of connection with those that you love if it's a fit. Sending you all my love and gratitude. Coach Michelle.